So the first thing we've done is taken the contents, the dry contents of this scone package, and it's in a mixer. If you don't have a mixer, that's okay. You can just use a mixing bowl and mix it by hand. So I've emptied the contents into this mixing bowl, and I'm just going to turn it on at a relatively slow speed. And I'm going to slowly add a stick and a half, 3/4 of a cup that is, of cut up butter. And I've cut it up into small pieces, and I've put it in the freezer. So I take the butter in a frozen state and cut it up, and then I put it back in the freezer until I'm absolutely ready to add this to the mixing bowl. And I add it slowly and deliberately. And we do this for two reasons. The frozen butter helps it blend nice and homogeneously. And it also, as you go to bake the scones, it creates air pockets, which then keep the scones cooking well and keep them nice and light. So we have now finished blending the butter with the dry mix. Then what I've done is I've switched the attachment on the mixer from a mixing attachment to more of a kneading attachment. So I put that on. I now have the blend here. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of buttermilk. So it blends in and it does a little bit of kneading. So just kind of nice and gently. I keep a rubber spatula here just to kind of, mix it up as I put the buttermilk in. There we go. Just let it mix and blend for just a few minutes. Doesn't have to be for a long period of time. Okay, so now we've blended all the buttermilk and let it knead for just a little bit of time in the mixer. So now I'm going to spread a little bit of flour here on the counter. And I'm going to take the kneaded dough, put it right here. And don't worry if there's a little bit of unmixed dry mix, because we'll just knead it all together like this, just a little bit. And this looks good. So now I'm going to take this ball of dough and I'm going to cut it in half. I use a pastry knife, which is good. You don't have to, but if you have one, it works well. And just cut that in half, and we're going to make 2 kind of batches of scones with these halves of the balls of dough. So now what I'm doing is I'm just spreading it out, and while I'm spreading it out, I'm actually doing a little bit more kneading. So this dough looks good, and you can see the chunks of still partially frozen butter in the dough. So as you can see, it's a nice uniform thickness. Okay, so now we have the half. So now what I've done is I've taken some frozen raspberries, and I keep them right in the freezer until the very minute before they're going to be put into this scone ball, because you don't want them mushy and getting all the juice into the dough and discoloring the dough and kind of making it messy. So what I do is I just spread these raspberries and I push them down a little bit. I like to be generous with the fruit, and it makes for better scones. But you can decide, how much fruit you want to put in. But you can see it's a generous amount of fruit. Then I'm going to take, I'm just going to wipe the raspberries off my hands here. Then I'm going to take some white chocolate chips, and I'm going to spread a few of them in among the raspberries right on top of the dough. And again, I tend to be kind of generous with the chips. And I kind of press those in. And now I'm going to take the scone ball, and I'm just going to kind of fold it over like this. And I'm going to put it in a very small circular baking pan. This is a really good size, which is about 6 inches in diameter. So anything in that general measurement facility category would be good. And again, I kind of press it against the sides. And by the way, I've used some cooking spray on the inside of this so it'll come out easily. And what I'm trying to do here is get a uniform shape and then also a uniform thickness. And once I have that, I'm going to put a little bit more flour on the table. And out it comes, like that. And that looks really good. So now we have a nice round uniform look here. Now I'm going to take my pastry knife and I'm going to cut it into 8 wedges. And they don't have to be perfect, but it's nice to get them fairly uniform in size. And these become my scones. So here I just go around and I get 8. And there we are. Now, at this point, the scones are ready to do one of 2 things. You could put them right onto a cookie sheet and bake them. And as the directions on the package say, you bake them at a 425-degree oven for between 13 and 18 minutes. Or, at this point, you can take these scones and put them and freeze them into a nice Ziploc freezer bag. They can come right out and go right into the oven from the freezer. And they do really, really well that way, too.